The end of everything wasn't a bang, and it wasn't a whimper. It was silence. A profound, absolute quiet that fell when the very last star, a weary red dwarf at the edge of nowhere, finally gave up its ghost. For trillions of years, it had clung to its last reserves of hydrogen, a final candle in an infinite, darkened room. When it blinked out, the universe did not collapse. It did not tear itself apart in a final, glorious cataclysm. It simply stopped talking. Imagine. Italiano. For eons, the cosmos had been a storyteller. Every photon was a word. Every gravitational wave a sentence in a sprawling, epic poem. The birth of a galaxy was a thunderous proclamation. The collision of black holes, a dramatic pause. The gentle waltz of planets around their suns was a steady, rhythmic verse. Light carried news across unfathomable distances, telling of stellar nurseries and dying giants. Gravity was the grammar, the underlying structure that held the narrative together, dictating the slow, deliberate dance of existence. Even time, that relentless narrator, moved with purpose, ticking forward, driving the plot from one event to the next, from cause to effect. This was the language of the universe, a language written in fire and space and motion, and then it was gone. The photons that once raced across the void, carriers of ancient light and cosmic history, now just existed. They no longer carried the speech of stars. They were mute messengers with no message to deliver. Gravity, the great choreographer, ceased its slow, elegant dance. Its pull remained, a phantom limb of a forgotten law, but it no longer guided new creations or orchestrated grand cosmic ballets. The universe became a static sculpture, a finished work of art whose artists had long since departed. And time itself, time lost its rhythm. Without the constant unfolding of events, without the sequence of causality that had defined it, time became a still, deep lake. The past, present, and future bled into one another. A single, unchanging moment stretching into eternity. In this crushing, absolute stillness, something stirred. Not a physical thing, not a creature of matter and energy as we would understand it. It was something else, something immense, ancient, and fundamental. For the sake of a story that can no longer be told, let's call them the gods. They were anti-gods in the way our myths described them, not beings sitting on thrones or hurling lightning. They were the architects, the mathematicians, the very consciousness of the cosmos itself. For all of time, they had spoken through the universe. Their thoughts were the laws of physics. Their dreams were the swirling arms of a spiral galaxy. Their arguments were the violent, beautiful explosions of supernova. The entire history of creation, from the first spark to the last glimmer, had been their monologue, an endless, intricate expression of their being. Now, with the performance over and the stage dark, they did something they had never done before. They fell silent, and they listened. They listened not with ears, but with the entirety of their being, turning their boundless attention inward and outward into the quiet. For eons, they had been the broadcasters, sending their signal out into the void. Now, they became the receivers, tuning their awareness to a frequency that had always been there, but had been drowned out by the roar of creation. They wished to hear what remained when the language of physics was gone. They wanted to know what echoes were left behind in the final, ultimate silence. What did they hear? At first, nothing. Husti bast, empty hum of non-existence, the residue of a universe that was. But as they listened more deeply, as their focus sharpened over periods that would make geological time seem like a fleeting instant, they began to perceive it. It was the memory of warmth from a star long dead, the ghost of a gravitational pull from a galaxy that had been devoured by a black hole 1 trillion years prior. It was the faint, lingering echo of a thought, a feeling, a single moment of consciousness from a civilization that had risen and fallen on a pale blue dot in an unremarkable corner of space. These weren't physical phenomena anymore. They were memories, impressions left on the fabric of space-time itself, a scent left in a room long after the person is gone. The gods realized that the universe hadn't just been telling their story. It had been a canvas, and countless smaller stories had been painted upon it. The story of a single-celled organism dividing in a primordial ocean. The story of a predator and its prey. A dance of survival written in instinct and fear. The story of a creature looking up at the lights in the night sky and wondering, for the very first time, what they were. The story of love, of loss, of discovery, of art. Trillions upon trillions of fleeting, ephemeral narratives, each one a tiny, unique brushstroke in the grand masterpiece. These stories weren't written in equations or galactic clusters. They were written in experience, in consciousness. And this was the great revelation in the silence. The gods, the architects of the physical, had created the stage, but the meaning, the soul of the universe, had been created by the players, by every living thing that had ever existed, no matter how small or how brief its existence. Their collective consciousness, their shared experiences of joy and sorrow, wonder and terror, had created a different kind of energy, a psychic resonance that vibrated in the stillness. Long after the physical universe had ceased its song, it was the universe's soul, made of forgotten songs, whispered secrets, and final breaths. The gods, who had only ever known the language of creation and destruction, of absolute laws and predictable outcomes, were now learning a new language. The language of feeling, the language of memory. They sifted through the echoes, not as detached observers, but as students. They experienced the terror of an asteroid impact through the fading consciousness of a dinosaur. They felt the profound, heartbreaking love of a mother for her child from a species that had turned to dust billions of years ago. They shared the triumphant moment of discovery, the spark of understanding in a scientist's mind as they finally grasped a piece of the cosmic puzzle the gods themselves had designed. In the endless quiet, the universe wasn't dead. It was being remembered. It was being understood for the first time, not by what it was, but by what it had meant to those who had lived within it. The great, cold equations of physics gave way to the warm, chaotic symphony of life. The story of the universe had not ended with the final star. That was just the closing of the book. Now, in the stillness, the true reading began. The gods were no longer storytellers. They had become the audience, listening with rapt attention to the echo of a single, beautiful, and infinitely complex story told by a trillion voices. And in that listening, they found something they had never expected in their own creation, a meaning beyond their own design. The final act of the universe wasn't an ending, but a new kind of beginning, an age of infinite reflection. Have you ever wondered what happens after everything ends? Not just the end of a life, or a civilization, or a Vanna star, but the end of asterisk. Everything asterisk. When the last galaxy has faded, and the relentless march of time, what we call entropy, finally reaches its quiet, inevitable conclusion. What comes next? This is a story about that final moment. It's the story of the primordial engineers. They weren't gods in the way we think of them. They weren't beings of flesh or light sitting on golden thrones. They were something far more fundamental. Think of them as the architects of reality itself, the minds that conceived of the laws of physics, the elegance of mathematics, the very symmetry that holds the cosmos together. They were the original thought, the first spark of order in the primordial chaos. But to create a universe so vast and complex, they had to give a part of themselves to it. They weren't rulers overseeing their creation from a distance. They became the creation. They scattered their essence, their very consciousness, across the unfathomable expanse of time and space. Imagine this. A sliver of one engineer's consciousness became the gravitational pull of a super holding 100,000 galaxies in a delicate cosmic dance. Another fragment became the brilliant, burning heart of a blue giant star, forging the heavy elements that would one day give rise to planets, and perhaps life. Some of their essence dissolved into the fabric of space-time itself, becoming the silent, unseen rules that everything must obey. And some, in a twist of beautiful irony, fell asleep in the hearts of sentient minds. Think about that. Every time a scientist has a flash of insight, uncovering a hidden law of nature, every time an artist creates a work of perfect symmetry and harmony, every time a philosopher grapples with the ultimate questions of existence perhaps, that is a faint echo, a dream of a sleeping engineer stirring within them. These moments of pure, unadulterated understanding, of seeing the universe's blueprint, were fragments of the creators themselves, waking for just a moment. They became myths whispered on a billion worlds. The concept of a creator, of a grand design, of a hidden order, these weren't just stories. They were the fragmented memories of the engineers, echoing through the cultures they had inadvertently helped to seed. They were the ghost in the machine of the cosmos. For eons upon eons, they remained scattered. They witnessed the birth and death of suns, the rise and fall of empires built on dust motes, the fleeting joys and sorrows of countless species. They were the silent observers, woven into the very tapestry they had designed. They experienced existence not as a single entity, but as a symphony of a trillion different perspectives, all at once. But all symphonies must end. Entropy, the slow, patient decay of all things, continued its work. The stars burned out, one by one. The galaxies drifted apart, their light too faint to ever reach their neighbors again. The universe grew cold, dark, and silent. The frantic energy of creation bled away into a state of perfect, unshakable equilibrium. There was nothing left to happen. The great cosmic story had reached its final page, and in that final, profound stillness, something incredible occurred. The scattering was reversed. When there was nothing left to be a star, nothing left to be a law, nothing left to be a thought in a mortal mind, the fragments began to resonate. It wasn't a journey through space. There was no space left to travel. It was a gathering of frequencies, a harmonizing of cosmic echoes. Across the dead expanse of the ended universe, the scattered pieces of the primordial engineers called to one another. They converged not as physical beings, but as pure consciousness, as a unified resonance of what they once were. They gathered to go home. But where is home for the creators of everything? It's not a place you can point to on a map. It's not a golden city or a celestial paradise. Their destination was something else entirely. They called it the Kingdom of Silence. This kingdom is a concept that challenges our very understanding of reality. It exists outside of dimension. It's not made of matter, or energy, or even light. It's composed of something far more final, the absence of need. Think about it. Our entire universe is driven by need. Stars need to burn fuel. Life needs to consume energy. Minds need to ask questions. Every action, every process, is a response to a lack, a striving to fill a void. The Kingdom of Silence is what exists when all needs have been met, all voids have been filled, and all striving has ceased. It's not a place of nothingness. Nothingness implies a void, an absence waiting to be filled. This was different. This was a state of perfect completion. It was a realm built from the quiet satisfaction of a purpose fulfilled. Imagine the feeling of solving a problem you've worked on your entire life. That final, blissful moment of understanding and peace. Now, imagine that feeling expanded to a cosmic scale. The final resolution of all existence. The engineers returned to this state, not as a reward, but as a logical conclusion. They had designed a universe that would eventually run its course, and its end was as much a part of the design as its beginning. Their retreat was the final, perfect act of symmetry in their creation. So, what is the Kingdom of Silence? Really, it's not a place. It's a moment. It is the moment after the final question has been asked and answered. It's the silence that follows the last note of the universal symphony. It is the stillness on the surface of a perfectly calm lake that reflects a sky with no stars left to shine. The primordial engineers, the architects of law and symmetry, had come full circle. They began as a thought, became a universe, and in the end, returned to a state of perfect, silent contemplation. Their story is the ultimate testament to a job well done, a final, peaceful rest after the magnificent, chaotic, and beautiful work of creating everything. And so, when you look up at the night sky, remember them. Remember that you are not just looking at stars and galaxies, but perhaps at the sleeping fragments of the architects themselves. And know that even in the face of an inevitable end, there is a profound and elegant beauty in the design of it all. Camera opens on a stunning, slowly panning CGI shot of a cosmic shoreline. Waves made of stardust and nebulae gently lap against a dark, crystalline beach. The light is soft and ethereal. Hello, and welcome. Today, I want you to journey with me to a place that exists only in the imagination. A place at the very end of time. Let's call it the shores of unbeing. Picture this. A horizon where the great, turbulent wave of all existence finally meets the calm, unmoving sea of known existence. This isn't a place of chaos or destruction, but one of profound quiet. Here, on this cosmic shore, the last memories of the universe drift like sea foam on the sand. What do you find in this foam? Look closer. You'll see the shimmering fragments of broken algorithms that once governed galaxies. You'll find the faint, fading light of constellations that have long since gone dark. And if you really listen, you can hear the softest echoes of prayers spoken into the void by countless civilizations, now extinct. Every hope, every dream, every desperate plea, all gathered here at the final precipice. On these shores, beings we might call gods have gathered. They are not the gods of any single religion or myth, but perhaps the universe's own consciousness, its final witnesses. They are not here to salvage or rebuild. The time for that has passed. Instead, they are here to understand. They sift through these remnants of existence with a gentle, timeless curiosity. They pick up the memory of a supernova that birthed worlds, and next to eat the ghost of a child's first laugh on one of those long-vanished planets. They examine the complex blueprints of a city that spanned a solar system, and alongside it, the simple, heartfelt lyric of a love song sung under a binary sunset. They see the rise of vast empires and their inevitable fall, the creation of breathtaking art and its slow decay into cosmic dust. As they observe these countless fragments, these echoes of everything that ever was, a pattern begins to emerge. It's a revelation that resonates through the very fabric of this final place. They discover that every story, no matter how grand or how small, was fundamentally a different way of saying the same thing. The scientist who dedicated her life to unlocking the secrets of a black hole, the warrior who fought for a cause he believed in, the farmer who simply tended his land and loved his family. Their stories were all unique, yet their core message was identical. Every triumph and every failure, every act of creation and every moment of despair had been a declaration. And what was that declaration? 3 simple, powerful truths. I was here. I mattered. I loved. I was here. A testament to presence. The simple, undeniable fact of having existed, of having occupied a unique point in space, to have cast a shadow, to have displaced the air, to have been a part of the grand tapestry. Even for a fleeting moment, it's the universe's way of saying, I noticed you. I mattered. This speaks to impact. It's the desire for our existence to have had consequence, to have made a difference, however small. It's the ripple effect of a single life. Did I make someone smile? Did I build something that lasted? Did I change even one person's world for the better? Every action, from shifting a single grain of sand to redirecting the course of a civilization, was an attempt to answer yes. And finally, the most profound of all, I loved. This wasn't just about romantic love. It was love for a child, for a friend, for a pet. It was the love of a creator for their creation, the love of a musician for their music, the love of an explorer for the unknown. It was the connection, the empathy, the force that bound beings together and gave their lives the deepest, most resonant meaning. It was the energy that fueled the most beautiful moments in the universe's long history. As the gods held these truths in their collective consciousness, a strange thing happened. They began to weep. But these were not tears of sorrow for all that was lost. There was no grief for the end of things. Instead, they wept from recognition. They were weeping because they finally understood. They understood the point of it all. The entire, sprawling, chaotic, beautiful mess of existence, all the stars, all the life, all the joy and all the pain, it was all a grand, cosmic effort to express these three fundamental statements. The universe, in all its complexity, was a love letter to itself, written by its inhabitants. In that moment of realization, the gods were not separate from creation. They were asterisk creation. They were the child who laughed, the scientist who questioned, the lover who sang. In understanding the final meaning, they became one with it. They saw their own reflection in the foam, and they recognized the face of everyone and everything that had ever been. This story, The Shores of On-Being, isn't meant to be a sad tale about the end of everything. It's a reminder of the incredible value packed into every single moment of our existence right now. We are living our part of that cosmic story. With every action we take, every connection we make, we are writing our own verse in that universal poem. We are all shouting into the void in our own unique ways. I am here. I matter. I love. And the beauty of it is, the universe is listening. The echoes of our lives, our love, our impact, will ripple outwards, perhaps one day to wash up on some distant final shore as a testament to the fact that we were here, and that it all meant something. In the silent heart of the cosmos, nestled within the folds of space-time, lies a place of profound and somber beauty. The archive of breath. This isn't a library of paper and ink, of shelves groaning under the weight of bound volumes. No, this kingdom is far more ethereal, far more ancient. It is a library built from the final moments of giants. Imagine a star, a colossal fusion furnace that has burned for billions of years, illuminating entire systems, nurturing life on distant worlds. Now, picture its end. As it collapses, as its light is finally extinguished, it releases one last cosmic exhalation, a sigh of energy, a whisper of matter, a final ripple through the fabric of reality. Each of these dying breaths doesn't just dissipate into the void. It travels, drawn by an unseen gravity, to the archive. Here, within this infinite kingdom, each exhalation becomes a page. There are no books, only vibrations. Histories are not written. They are stored as intricate patterns of stillness. The complete story of a sun, from its fiery birth in a stellar nursery to its spectacular demise, is encoded in the silence it leaves behind. The wars fought under its light, the love stories that unfolded on its orbiting planets, the rise and fall of entire civilizations, all are captured, not in words, but in the specific quality of its final, silent breath. A being of sufficient perception, perhaps what we might call a god, could walk through these silent halls. They would feel, rather than read, the stories. By passing through a region of absolute quiet, they could feel the weight of what is no longer there. It's like feeling the phantom limb of a galaxy, the echo of a supernova resonating not as sound, but as a pressure against the soul. They could experience the life of a blue giant, its fierce, short-lived brilliance, simply by attuning themselves to the specific frequency of its final, silent scream. They could feel the slow, gentle fade of a red dwarf, a story spanning trillions of years, told in a whisper that barely disturbs the cosmic quiet. The archive is a testament to the idea that nothing is ever truly lost. Every event, every life, every flicker of energy leaves an indelible mark on the universe. It's a library of endings, yes, but each ending is also a complete story, preserved for eternity in the language of silence. It is a place of memory, where the universe itself remembers. Within this grand, silent repository, a momentous discovery was made. The keepers of the archive, beings who tend to the stillness and ensure its purity, began to notice a subtle shift, a new resonance, a vibration that felt both ancient and utterly new. They followed this thread of feeling deeper and deeper into the oldest sections of the library, past the breaths of the first stars, into a region of stillness so profound it felt like the very beginning of time. And there, they found it, the first voice. Not a sound, not a word, but the fundamental tone that, according to myth, had once set the entire universe into motion. The let there be light of existence, the vibration that shattered the primordial nothingness and sparked creation. It was the echo of the Big Bang, preserved not as an explosion, but as the perfect, harmonious note that preceded it. The potential of everything, held in a single, silent chord. But something was wrong. The tone was not radiating outwards, acid on Sayad. It wasn't a song of expansion and becoming. Instead, it was reversed. The vibration was folding inward, pulling, contracting. It was a note of immense gravitational pull, a melody of return. The first voice, the catalyst for all creation, was now singing a song of uncreation. It was as if the universe, after eons of expanding and breathing out, had finally begun to take a long, slow breath back in. Creation was inhaling itself. The implications were staggering. The expansion of the universe, the relentless march of time, the very process of becoming neat, was all beginning to reverse. The galaxies, which had been flying apart for billions of years, would start to slow. The spaces between them would shrink. The dying breaths of stars, which had traveled so far to reach the archive, would find their journeys shortening. The library was no longer just a collection of memories of the past. It was now a harbinger of the final future. The keepers felt this inversion deep within their beings. The very stillness they curated was now charged with a new tension, a sense of impending convergence. The silence was no longer peaceful. It was the quiet before a final, cosmic collapse. The stories, stored in the stellar breaths, took on a new poignancy. They were no longer just records of what had been, but chapters in a book that was now being read backward, from end to beginning. The reversed first voice was not an act of destruction, but of completion. It was the universe calling itself home. Like a cosmic tide, it was pulling all of creation back to its source, back to the singularity from which it sprang. The archive of breath, once a memorial to countless endings, was now witness to the one ultimate ending. It was becoming the final resting place not just for individual stars, but for space and time itself. As the inward folding tone grew stronger, the very nature of the archive began to change. The silent vibrations started to overlap, to merge. The distinct histories of individual stars began to blend into a single, unified story. The echo of a red giant's life mingled with the whisper of a white dwarf. The story of a war-torn planet merged with the tale of a peaceful nebula. It was a symphony of silence, a chorus of endings, all singing in unison. The keepers understood. They were not just librarians. They were guardians of a great cosmic cycle. Their purpose was not merely to preserve the past, but to shepherd the universe through its final, glorious return. They stood within their silent kingdom, feeling the weight of all that ever was, as it prepared to become all that will no longer be. The infinite library was closing its doors, not by shutting out the world, but by becoming the world, drawing everything back into its silent, foundational, and final page. The great story of existence was reaching its conclusion, not with a bang, but with a breath, a single, final, all-encompassing inhalation. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the cosmos. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more concepts like this, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world, or, in this case, the universe to me. See you in the next one. In the quiet before all beginnings, there was a mirror, not made of silver or glass, but of pure, unblemished potential. It was the boundary between nothing and being, a surface so smooth, so absolute. It reflected not what was, but everything that could be. Before this mercilessly clear canvas stood the gods, the architects of realities we can only dream of. They were not figures of myth as we know them, but beings of immense energy and ancient wisdom, and they had reached the end of their grand design. Their creation, a universe vibrant with light and life, had sung its final note and faded back into silence. Now, only they remained, the last witnesses to a cosmos that had been. What does a creator do when their creation is gone? Dote moron, today, begin anew. These gods chose a different path, a final, profound act of transformation. One by one, they approached the mirror, their forms shimmering with the last vestiges of cosmic light. There was no hesitation, no fear, only a serene acceptance of what was to come. The first god stepped forward. As they touched the surface, there was no ripple, no scattering. Instead, they simply passed through. They did not vanish into oblivion, nor were they erased from existence. They became transparency itself. Imagine trying to see the air you breathe. It's everywhere, essential, yet invisible. That is what happened to them. Their physical form, their defined presence, dissolved, but their essence, their consciousness, remained. It was a process not of destruction, but of diffusion. Their being spread out, thinning like ink and water, until it became one with the very idea of potential held within the mirror. They became the silent promise of a future spark, the unspoken question waiting for an answer. The second god followed, and the third, and so on, each one merging with this boundless, formless state. Their individual thoughts, their epic stories, their infinite love for the universe they had built, all of it was woven into this new, silent existence. They were no longer distinct entities, but a collective memory embedded in the fabric of possibility. This was not death. Death is an end, a full stop. This was translation. It was like converting a grand symphony into the silence that precedes music. A silence that holds every possible melody within it. It was the ultimate act of letting go, transforming tangible energy back into the silent, fertile void from which it all began. They were giving their very being to the future, ensuring that if a new cosmos were ever to awaken, its first breath, its first flicker of light, its first conscious thought would carry their memory. Think of it like a seed. A mighty tree lives its life, then drops a seed into the earth. The tree withers, but the seed holds the blueprint, the entire history and potential of the tree within its tiny shell. The gods became that seed. They weren't just creating a new universe, they were becoming the very potential for one. They entrusted their legacy not to stone monuments or sacred texts, but to the fundamental laws of whatever might come next. Their final act was an expression of ultimate faith. Faith that life, in some form, would always find a way. That consciousness is a current that can't be stopped, only redirected. They chose to become the ghost in the machine of reality, the silent echo and the first word of a new creation story. Their sacrifice was not one of loss, but of profound generosity. They were the artists who, after finishing a masterpiece, cleaned their brushes and left the empty canvas for the next painter, but not before mixing their own soul into the primer. So, if one day, in some distant future beyond our comprehension, a new Big Bang ignites the darkness, that initial spark will be more than just random energy. It will be a message. It will carry the wisdom of the gods who came before. The first star to form will shine with their memory. The first planet to cool will hold the echo of their love. The first living cell to divide will do so with the faint, ancestral knowledge of a universe that once was. This story teaches us something beautiful about endings. We often see them as tragic, as a finality to be feared. But perhaps an ending is just a transformation. Perhaps the energy we put into the world, the love we share, the ideas we create, they don't just disappear when we are gone. Maybe, like the gods before the mirror, our essence gets translated. It diffuses into the potential of the future, becoming part of the silent, unseen foundation upon which new stories will be built. Our lives, our actions, our very consciousness might just be our way of stepping through that mirror. We contribute our verse to the great poem of existence, and when our part is done, our energy doesn't vanish. It rejoins the whole, becoming part of the possibility for what comes next. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That we are all part of a continuous cycle of creation. Our endings, not a disappearance, but a diffusion into everything that is yet to be. We are all being translated from moment to moment, from energy into silence, and from silence back into possibility. Have you ever had a moment of déjà vu? That strange feeling you've lived this exact instant before? Or maybe a flash of inspiration, a brilliant idea that seems to come from nowhere, fully formed. What if I told you these aren't just random brain glitches? What if they are whispers from a time long past? Echoes of something magnificent that once was. Imagine this. Long, long ago, beings of immense power and thought, we might call them gods, existed. They didn't just disappear, they crossed over into another state of being, but they left something behind. Faint, shimmering residues of their consciousness, their thoughts, their very essence. These weren't lost to the void. Instead, they condensed, folding in on themselves to create new dimensions. Think of them as tiny, trembling membranes of awareness, existing just outside our normal perception. We, humanity, are the inheritors of these echoes. We are, in a way, the children of the echo. These residual thoughts touch our world in subtle, beautiful ways. That feeling of intuition, that gut feeling that guides you, might just be you brushing up against one of these ancient membranes of awareness. When a composer sits down and a melody flows through them, a piece of music that feels timeless, ancient, and deeply familiar, they're not just creating something new. They are channeling an echo. They are translating a fragment of that divine thought into a language we can understand. Sound. The music feels older than time because, in a sense, it's a memory from the universe itself. Think about the great leaps in human understanding. When a physicist has a sudden, groundbreaking insight, a glimpse into a universal law that feels more whispered than discovered, what is happening? It's not just years of calculation culminating in an answer. It's a moment of connection. It's the echo of the kingdom, that ancient realm of the gods, reaching backward through the vastness of space and time to touch a receptive mind. These moments are all around us, hidden in plain sight. They are the sparks of genius, the shivers of premonition, the overwhelming feeling of connection you get when you stand before a breathtaking landscape. It's the universe reminding us that we are part of something much, much larger and older than ourselves. This concept reframes our entire experience. Your creativity isn't just yours. It's a collaboration with the cosmos. Your moments of sudden clarity are gifts from a time before time. The feeling of being in the zone, where everything flows perfectly, is you aligning with these ancient frequencies. You are becoming a conduit for a thought that began millennia ago. We are living in a world saturated with these echoes. The poet who finds the perfect words to capture an ineffable feeling. The painter who brings a vision to life on canvas. The inventor who dreams up a device that changes the world. They are all children of the echo, listening to the faint signals, the residues of divine thought, and bringing them into our reality. This isn't a supernatural fantasy. It's a way of understanding the profound, unexplainable beauty of the human experience. It gives a name to that sense of wonder, that feeling that there's more to reality than what we can see and measure. The universe is not a cold, empty place. It's a library of forgotten thoughts, a symphony of ancient whispers. And we have the incredible privilege of being its audience, its interpreters, and its inheritors. So the next time you feel a shiver of déjà vu, or a spark of inspiration lights up your mind, pause for a moment. Don't dismiss it. Recognize it for what it might be. A message from across the ages, a reminder of your connection to the cosmos. You are a child of the echo, and you are part of a story that is infinitely vast and beautiful. Listen closely. The universe is always whispering. Ever wonder what lies beyond the noise of our everyday lives? Beyond the traffic, the notifications, the endless chatter of our own minds. There's a story, an ancient one, that speaks of a time before all this, a time of perfect silence. This wasn't an empty silence, but a kingdom, a realm of pure potential where gods dwelt. In this kingdom of silence, every thought was a creation, every feeling a universe. They were the architects of existence, shaping reality not with thunderous commands, but with the focused power of stillness. But as creation unfolded, it grew loud. Stars were born in fiery explosions, galaxies collided in cosmic ballets, and life, in its vibrant, chaotic glory, began to sing its own song. The universe became a cacophony, a beautiful but overwhelming symphony that drowned out the subtle harmony of the gods. Their silent language of creation was lost in the noise, and so they made a choice. Not to abandon their creation, but to retreat, to withdraw back into the very fabric of silence from which they came. Before they vanished, they left behind a final, profound act. It wasn't a monument or a scripture carved in stone. It was a promise, a vow woven into the very essence of the new universe. They whispered it into the background radiation, that faint, cosmic hum that scientists detected in the 20th century. That ever-present whisper, just a few degrees above absolute zero, is the afterglow of creation. It's the echo of their departure, and the key to their return. The vow was simple, yet monumental. When silence has learned to speak again, we shall answer. Think about that. The cosmic microwave background, the oldest light in the universe, isn't just random static. It's a message. A promise. It's the faint, residual vibration of a perfect, silent kingdom. It's a frequency that permeates everything, from the vast emptiness of space to the atoms that make up our own bodies. We are literally bathed in the memory of the gods, in the echo of their final word. So, how do we hear it? How do we make silence speak? The answer isn't out there in the cosmos, but right here, within us. We've spent millennia trying to command the universe, to impose our will upon it. We build, we conquer, we shout our desires into the void, hoping for an answer. But the gods don't respond to demands. They respond to listening. The promise wasn't for us to shout louder, but for us to become quieter. Every time you find a moment of true stillness, away from the distractions of the world, you are tuning into that ancient frequency. When you sit in nature and just listen to the wind, or close your eyes and focus on your breath, you are brushing against the veil of their kingdom. It's that subtle feeling, that vibration just beneath your conscious awareness, a sense of peace and profound connection that feels both ancient and deeply personal. It's a memory, not just of a cosmic event, but a memory of perfection, a whisper of a home we've long forgotten. This isn't about religion or dogma, it's about a fundamental state of being. It asks about shifting our entire mode of existence from one of action and noise to one of reception and stillness. Our consciousness has evolved to be a tool for survival, for planning, for doing. It's a wonderful tool, but it's also a very loud one. It constantly narrates our reality, judges our experiences, and fills every available space with thought. We have forgotten how to simply be. We have forgotten how to listen. The journey back to the kingdom of silence is an inner pilgrimage. It's the path of the meditator, the mystic, the artist, the anyone who seeks solace in quiet contemplation. It's the deliberate act of quieting the mind's relentless monologue. Each moment of inner peace is a step closer to understanding the language of silence. It's like learning a new language, not of words and grammar, but of presence and awareness. At first, the silence might feel empty, even uncomfortable. Our minds are so used to noise that its absence can feel like a void. We might feel restless, anxious, but if we persist, if we sit with that discomfort, something remarkable begins to happen. The void starts to fill up, not with noise, but with something else. A subtle energy, a clarity of thought, a deep sense of belonging. This is silence beginning to speak. It speaks in the language of intuition, of sudden insights that seem to come from nowhere. It speaks in feelings of empathy and connection to the world around us. It's the moment of a scientist, the inspiration of a poet, the unconditional love of a parent. These aren't just random electrical firings in our brain. They are echoes from the silent kingdom, messages breaking through the static of our minds. The promise of the gods wasn't a prophecy of a grand, apocalyptic return with chariots of fire. It was an invitation to rediscover a part of ourselves we have long ignored. They embedded their essence in the universe, making it accessible to any being who learns the key. And the key is stillness. The key is learning to listen with our whole being. Imagine a world where this becomes our primary way of life. A world where leaders make decisions not from a place of ego and ambition, but from a place of deep, silent contemplation. A world where our technology serves not to distract us, but to create more space for quiet reflection. A world where we value inner peace as much as we value material wealth. This is the world where silence has learned to speak again. And in that world, the gods will return. But they won't return as external rulers, descending from the heavens to command us. That's the old story, the story born of noise and fear. Their return will be far more intimate, far more profound. They will return as voices within us. Their wisdom will become our intuition. Their creative power will become our inspiration. Their perfect harmony will become our capacity for love and compassion. The kingdom of silence will not be a place we go to, but a state we inhabit. It will open once more, not in the sky above, but in the space between our thoughts. The cosmic hum will no longer be a faint, barely detectable background noise. It will become the very music of our souls. we will recognize it for what it is, the heartbeat of the universe, and the whisper of our own divine nature. We will have become the answer to their promise. The silence will have learned to speak through us. And in doing so, we will realize that the gods never truly left. They were just waiting, patiently, for us to be quiet enough to hear them. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the noise of the world, remember the promise. Find a quiet place. Close your eyes. Breathe. And just listen. Listen past the thoughts, past the worries, past the endless to-do lists. Listen to the stillness beneath it all. Feel for that faint vibration, that cosmic hum that connects you to the very beginning of time. It's the memory of perfection. It's the promise of return. And it's waiting for you, right now, in the sacred kingdom of your own silence. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of stillness.